She is nominated again for one of the biggest awards in film, and yet, this time she won't be there to accept it in person, not because of controversy, not because of conflict, but because of a choice that says more about her career than any acceptance speech ever could. Cynthia Erivo has just made Golden Globes history with Wicked, for good. And at the very moment when the spotlight is brightest, she's stepping away from the ceremony itself. The question isn't why she was nominated. It's why she's choosing not to attend, and what that decision quietly reveals about the kind of artist she really is. And the reason isn't what most people expect. Cynthia Erivo has been nominated for Best Actress, Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy at the 2026 Golden Globe Awards for her role in Wicked, for good. The film earned 5 nominations in total, including categories for box office achievement, original song, and a supporting performance by Ariana Grande. On paper, it looks like a perfect award season story, critical acclaim, industry recognition, and a sequel that expanded the world audiences fell in love with in the first film. But there's one unexpected detail. Despite being nominated for the second year in a row, Cynthia Erivo will not be attending the ceremony on Sunday, January 11. No red carpet, no acceptance speech, no viral moment. And at first glance, that absence feels confusing. So what's actually going on? Before speculation runs wild, it's important to be clear and responsible here. There is no controversy, no reported disagreement with the Golden Globes, and no public statement suggesting dissatisfaction with the awards themselves. According to multiple outlets, the reason for Erivo's absence is logistical, but also deeply intentional. At the time of the ceremony, she is in the middle of an intense production schedule in London, preparing for a major return to the West End. Not a supporting role, not a short appearance, but one of the most demanding projects of her career, and that's where the real story begins. Cynthia Erivo is currently starring in a one-woman stage adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. In this production, she doesn't just play the lead. She plays 23 different characters, 23 roles, one performer, live on stage every night. It's a physical, emotional, and technical challenge that requires absolute commitment. According to interviews she's given about the project, the preparation alone is exhaustive, not just memorizing lines, but transforming voice, posture, rhythm, and emotional presence from one character to another in real time. In her own words, she has openly described the experience as both terrifying and exhilarating. She has said she feels genuinely afraid of the scale of the challenge, and at the same time, completely drawn to it. And this production isn't a side project. It is scheduled to run on the West End from February through the end of May, meaning that January is not a break period. It is the most critical phase of rehearsal and refinement. Missing that time for an international award show would mean stepping away from the very work she has chosen to prioritize. So when people ask why she won't be at the Golden Globes, the answer is simple, but revealing. She chose the work. In an industry built around visibility, Cynthia Erivo's choice stands out. Most performers treat major award ceremonies as essential career moments, opportunities for recognition, networking, and momentum. And that logic isn't wrong. For many artists, a single high-profile appearance can change everything. But Erivo is not at a stage in her career where she is chasing validation. She is instead making decisions based on creative commitment. And that raises a larger question. What does success look like when the spotlight isn't the priority anymore? This year's nomination isn't just another accolade. With this nod, Cynthia Erivo becomes the first Black woman to be nominated twice in the category of Best Actress, Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. That matters, not as a headline, not as a statistic, but as part of a longer story about representation, access, and sustained recognition in spaces where repeated acknowledgement has historically been limited. She earned her first nomination for the initial installment of Wicked. Now, with Wicked for Good, she has been recognized again. Not for a similar performance, but for a continuation that required emotional growth, musical precision, and a deeper exploration of the character. The industry noticed, the audience noticed, and yet, the moment that could have been framed as a career peak is the very moment she steps away from the ceremony, which leads to the next layer of the story. If you look at Cynthia Erivo's career, this decision doesn't come out of nowhere. Before Hollywood recognition, before major film roles, her foundation was built on the stage. Her breakthrough performance as Celie in The Color Purple began in London's West End before transferring to Broadway, where it ultimately earned her a Tony Award. That trajectory matters. It shows where her artistic identity was formed, in live performance, in long rehearsal processes, in work that demands endurance rather than visibility. Since then, she has continued to return to theater, even while her film career expanded. One of her most talked about stage performances in recent years was Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl, where she took on the role of Jesus in a limited engagement that drew significant attention for its vocal and emotional intensity. Notably, that production took place during a one-year gap between Wicked and Wicked for Good, a period when she could have focused exclusively on screen projects. Instead, she chose the stage again. So when people wonder whether skipping the Golden Globes is a risk, the pattern suggests something else. This is who she has always been. It's important to note that Erivo's decision does not diminish the significance of Wicked for Good at the Golden Globes. The film received nominations in several major categories, including Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Best Original Song for No Place Like Home, and The Girl in the Bubble Best Supporting Performance for Ariana Grande, and of course, Best Actress for Erivo herself. The recognition reflects the film's critical reception and its impact with audiences. Her absence does not erase that, but it does change the way the moment is experienced. There will be no on-stage reaction shot, no speech to be quoted, no viral clip. Instead, the focus quietly shifts back to the work itself, and that may be exactly what she wants. In Hollywood, there is an unspoken rule: when you are nominated, you show up. Award ceremonies are not just about trophies. They are about visibility, alliances, narratives, and positioning. Being present means being photographed, interviewed, quoted, and remembered. It means becoming part of the season's story. So when an artist at the center of one of the year's most talked about films chooses not to attend, it disrupts the rhythm of how success is usually performed. But Cynthia Erivo is not rejecting recognition. She is reframing what it is secondary to. Instead of structuring her calendar around an awards weekend, she is structuring it around rehearsal rooms, vocal strain, character work, and the demands of a production that requires her full physical and emotional presence. In an industry built on moment-to-moment attention, that choice is quietly radical. When reports say Erivo is deep in production, that phrase can sound abstract. But in the world of theater, especially in a one-woman show, it is anything but. This is not a project where lines are memorized and blocking is set in a matter of days. It is a months-long process of building stamina, refining transitions between characters, and stress-testing the performance under conditions that mirror live shows. In a production where one performer carries the entire narrative, every missed rehearsal is significant. There is no ensemble to compensate, no shared burden of emotional or physical labor. For Erivo's Dracula, she is responsible for shifting between 23 distinct identities on stage, maintaining vocal health across radically different characterizations, managing pacing, tone, and emotional continuity without support from other actors. This is the kind of role that does not allow partial commitment. So the question is no longer, why would she miss the Golden Globes? It becomes, what would it cost the work if she didn't? For many performers, award seasons are about immediate impact, securing future roles, reinforcing market value, and staying in the conversation. But Cynthia Erivo's career suggests she operates on a longer timeline. Her trajectory has never been about short bursts of attention. It has been about accumulation, of range, of trust, of artistic credibility across mediums. She has moved between major studio films, intimate theater productions, musicals that demand vocal power, dramatic roles requiring emotional restraint. Skipping one ceremony does not erase that. In fact, it reinforces a pattern. She prioritizes projects that expand her capabilities, even when they require sacrifice of visibility. In that context, choosing rehearsal over red carpet is not a detour from success. It is an investment in the next phase of it. We live in a moment where being seen is often equated with being relevant. Social media, press cycles, and award seasons all reinforce the idea that visibility equals value. The more often you appear, the more your career seems to progress. Cynthia Erivo's decision challenges that equation. She is not disappearing. She is working, and that distinction matters, because it quietly reminds audiences and the industry that some of the most meaningful artistic growth happens off-camera, away from flashbulbs and sound bites. In a culture that often rewards output over depth, choosing depth is a statement. Award shows often frame success as a culmination, the moment where effort is finally recognized, the peak of a season's work. But Erivo's absence suggests a different narrative. For her, this nomination is not the endpoint of a journey. It is one point along a continuum of work that stretches before and after it. Instead of treating the Golden Globes as a destination, she treats it as acknowledgement. Important, yes, but not definitive. The defining work in her view appears to be what happens next. If Cynthia Erivo were to attend, any acceptance speech would likely be thoughtful, composed, and widely shared. But by not attending, she communicates something even more powerful. Without a microphone, she communicates that commitment to craft outweighs public ceremony preparation can matter more than applause. The work itself is the message. There is no controversy here, no protest, no criticism of the institution. Just a quiet, deliberate choice. And sometimes that is the most telling statement of all. Legacies are not built in single moments. They are shaped by patterns. When future audiences look back on Cynthia Erivo's career, they will see a performer who crossed mediums without losing depth, an artist who repeatedly returned to live performance even when film offered broader visibility, someone who accepted recognition without allowing it to dictate her priorities. Skipping the Golden Globes in the middle of a major production will not be remembered as an absence. It will be remembered as consistency. This brings us to a deeper layer of the story. If Cynthia Erivo is willing to step away from one of the most visible stages in the industry in order to protect the integrity of her work, what does that suggest about where she believes true artistic value is created? Is it in the moment of recognition, or in the process that no audience ever sees? That question doesn't just apply to her. It reflects a broader tension within creative industries, between performance and preparation, between recognition and responsibility, and it leads directly into the final part of this story. By choosing not to attend the Golden Globe Awards, Cynthia Erivo is not making a dramatic statement. She is not rejecting the industry, the recognition, or the moment. She is doing something far more subtle. She is reminding everyone that awards are reflections of work, not replacements for it. The Golden Globes will still happen. The cameras will still roll. The categories will still be announced. Wicked, for good, will still be celebrated. Her name will still be read aloud in a room filled with peers and power brokers. But the center of her attention will be somewhere else entirely, in a rehearsal space, inside a demanding role, in the quiet, unglamorous work that makes the next performance possible. And in that contrast, her decision takes on meaning. There is a tension at the heart of every creative career. On one side, visibility. On the other, devotion to process. Most artists must constantly negotiate between the two. Visibility brings opportunity. Process builds mastery. What makes Erivo's choice stand out is not that she values one over the other, but that, at this moment, she is willing to let the quieter side take precedence. In an era when relevance is often measured by presence, she is choosing preparation. And that quietly challenges the idea that success must always be performed in public. From the outside, it would be easy to frame her absence as a footnote in the award season narrative. But when you understand the context, it reshapes how the film's recognition is perceived. Because this nomination does not exist in isolation. It sits within a larger body of work that spans film, theater, music, and live performance. It represents not just one role, but an ongoing commitment to storytelling across formats. In that sense, Wicked, for Good is not the culmination of her work. It is one chapter in a career defined by range. And by stepping away from the ceremony, she ensures that the story of the film remains about the film itself, not about her presence at an event. There is a kind of confidence that comes not from applause, but from clarity. Cynthia Erivo knows who she is as an artist. She knows where her energy is most needed, and she is comfortable letting a highly visible moment pass if it means protecting the integrity of the work in front of her. That is not indifference, it is alignment. Alignment between values and action. This is not a story about skipping an award show. It is a story about what an artist chooses when two definitions of success collide. One definition says, be seen when the world is watching. The other says, be present where the work is being built. Cynthia Erivo chose the second. And in doing so, she leaves us with a larger question, one that this video doesn't fully answer. In a world that rewards visibility, what happens to the kind of excellence that is created quietly, long before the spotlight ever arrives? Because the next chapter of her career is not being written on a red carpet. It's being written on a stage, in a rehearsal room, inside a role that demands everything she has. And if that choice tells us anything, it's that the most important work often happens where no cameras are allowed.